Hello. How's everyone doing? We'll get started in just a few minutes. If you're jumping on already, what I want to talk about today was actually a shower thought. So these are always my favorite because sometimes in the shower you get the best ideas. This one struck me as we were doing some whiteboarding yesterday, planning out Q1 of next year and planning a couple of the launches that we're going to be doing. It was crystal clear. I'm surprised that we hadn't thought of it earlier. And I just wanted to jump on live and give you a breakdown of what I was thinking. So I got a new mic today. Hopefully it sounds a little bit better than the live yesterday. It's a little echoey, so hopefully this one works well. Doesn't look like there's any volume controls on it. So, okay. So the number one reason why real estate investors struggle. This one, I mean, it really took us about a year to figure this out, but now that we know it, it's actually pretty crystal clear. So the way that I want to explain it is using a story or kind of an analogy. So back in, I don't know, 1800s or whatever, everyone had to farm. Everyone had to, produce their own food or go, I guess everyone didn't have to hunt, but you had to produce your food some type of way. You had a farm, you took care of your land. And I shouldn't say everyone, but there was a big majority of the population that was farmers. And most of these farmers were doing things manually. Most of these farmers were grinding to get food on the table. Most of these farmers were hustling to just to get things done. And then, as society started to evolve and bring in technology, it became easier to farm. You were able to get larger farms. You were able to get more crop from your farms. You were able to get more production from it with less effort. And as this continued to happen, in today's age, we have so much technology for farmers that there's not as many farmers. Many farmers aren't needed anymore. We're able to get more stuff from less space, and we're able to produce enough food to feed 7 billion people. But previously, a couple hundred years ago, that wasn't a possibility. So how does this all relate to real estate investors? The way that it all relates is that a lot of new real estate investors, I'm probably in like 10 Facebook groups, are all struggling with a few core things. The one that I'm going to talk about is lead generation. So most new investors struggle to find deals, to get those deals under contract and then disposition those deals. Those are kind of the core struggles. I mean, those are really the core components of the real estate investing business, unless you're doing flips or buy and holds or any other strategy. But for most like wholesalers, really just any investor, the number one struggle is lead generation. How can I get more leads in the door? And how can I do it? How can I do it in a leveraged way? So what I've seen from jumping on, a couple hundred phone calls, in discussions, meetings, and groups, going to events, is that most coaches, gurus in the real estate investing space teach this kind of hustle mentality. You need to get on the phones. You need to put up signs. You need to drop flyers. You need to do all the hustle things. You need to do driving for dollars, whether it's virtually or in person. You have to do all the hustle things in order to get the deals. And what I've seen is the guys that are actually making waves, the guys that are actually making an impact in this space and generating the deals that they want, aren't actually doing that much hustling. They're kind of removed from the lead generation, and they are just working on closing down the deals, finding creative ways to make the deal happen, and looking at their portfolio and figuring out where the gaps are in their business. Most of them aren't involved in the day-to-day lead generation. It's on autopilot. They don't touch it. So how does that work? These investors have gone from the hustle mentality of, give me a bunch of phone numbers, let me call as many as I can, to figure out what are the leverage solutions. So whether that is running pay-per-click ads or hiring a call center to do your cold calling instead of you actually doing it, and hiring a lead manager to filter out the leads from those. If it's same thing with pay-per-click advertising, whether it's Facebook or whether it's Google, is they're using a leveraged way to get in front of motivated sellers, qualify the leads, figure out which leads make sense for them, and then they're working on the actual acquisition process and then dispositioning that property or selling that property for a profit. That's where most high-level investors are spending their time. They're not spending their time in the minutia of generating the leads. They have outsourced that either to a system where they're either sending out text messages and ringless voicemails automatically to specific lists that you can pull through ListSource or through National Data Source or through PropStream or wherever you're pulling your data from. You pull these specific segments of data of people that you know are most likely to be in a distressed situation, whether it's tax liens, tax delinquents, water shutoffs, any type of list like that. You're sending them a text message or a ringless voicemail, which is a phone call that goes directly to voicemail. And you're connecting with those people, seeing if they're in a situation where they want an offer on their house. And instead of you actually making all those calls, they're replying to your phone calls. They're replying to your text messages. They're clicking on your ads. They're having a conversation with your cold caller. And at the beginning of the day, instead of you going out to your farm and hustling and having to pull the crops up yourself, you are just receiving the fruits of the labor. All the carrots are picked. All the onions and potatoes are picked. And you just have to filter through which ones you want at that time. And that's the number one reason I see a lot of real estate investors struggle is they are in the employee or freelancer mentality, which is I need to do this all myself because I want the credit, or I can't afford to pay anyone else because I want to keep all the money. There's not a single business on the face of this planet that I know that is 100% profit. There are some that are pretty close. If you're running, pretty healthy coaching or consulting business where you don't have a ton of overhead, but you have to carve up some profit somewhere. And the best way to scale from being a solo real estate investor to actually making an impact, helping people that are in a distressed situation and growing your business is outsourcing that to someone that actually knows what they're doing. So finding someone to make the cold calls for you, finding someone to set up the SMS RVM campaigns for you, finding someone to run the ads for you. Getting out of that piece of the business allows you to focus on how can I best close these deals instead of how can I go and find the deals. And when you move yourself out of that employee, out of that kind of freelancer, do-it-yourself type of mentality, you can actually scale and grow your business. So this whole process is called evolution. So it was actually discovered back in 1859, if anyone actually paid attention in science class. It's time for real estate investors as a whole to evolve. And the ones that are dominating and crushing it right now have actually evolved. They're building systems. They're building processes to get themselves out of the hustle struggle of actually making the cold calls, actually, placing the ads, actually, delivering the flyers, actually putting up the bandit signs. They're paying other people to do these things for them, to bring them the leads and the deals. So again, they can focus on the highest impact. So when you're able to move from, down here base level to a higher playing field, you'll be able to thrive. So how do you make that transition? So the best way to do it, like I said, is to connect with someone that is already an expert at that. So if it's running pay-per-click ads for you, find someone to run those pay-per-click ads. If it's cold calling, find a call center to make those calls for you. You can pay someone in the Philippines or in Mexico a healthy salary to make those calls for you, but it'll be much less than what your time is worth. Let them make the calls and generate the leads and put them into a CRM for you. Let someone else go out and put out the signs, or let someone else deliver the direct mail. So you can focus on qualifying the leads, closing the deals, and bringing in the revenue for your company. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hope that was helpful. Again, just to recap, the number one reason why real estate investors struggle is they haven't evolved and they haven't taken themselves out of the hustle mentality and put themselves in a place to actually run a business.